precious ones, the tenderest ritual in all the universe is the ritual of the ascension. Then the minute fingers of living flame become the caress of God as he calls unto himself the chosen one who would rather run his course as unification with universal life than abide in individuality or separation from the central fires of God's heart. Many a candidate comes to us pleading for admission to our retreat and longing in the depth of the heart, of the soul, for a release from attachment, from bondage, from confusion, from fear. And I must say unto you tonight in native honesty that in many cases the ascension is sought as recoil from the terrors which the world has created and is not adored for its pristine purpose, for its harmony, for its fulfillment of immortal purpose and intent. Divest thyself of those thoughts of recoil that negatively drive thee into the arms of God, if thou wouldst have the ascension. And bear well, beloved keepers of the flame, in mind and heart, that the luster of the supreme purpose must be adored. One must desire union with God more than union with self. And then truly, not only shall self not forever be cast away, but God shall not be cast away. And thou mayest well perform perforce his service to life, that ye become hands and feet of the Most High God, to go whither he goeth, and to extend that cup of life, that elixir, unto others. I know full well, precious ones, the great difficulty in surmounting the obstacle of the human monolith. Men speak of a monotheistic God. Let them recognize the monolith and Moloch of human greed. Let them recognize the shame that is within themselves and cut themselves free from it. Men speak great swelling words of vanity. I will do this, and do it not. Chastisement, self-chastisement is sometimes not enough to apply the spur, and it is required by the law that from on high those whom we love should be chastened by our wit to the end purpose that you see truth clearly in mind as a clean slate, as letters of fire written in the air. As the dream of God and not the dream of man. And while we are on the subject, let me draw you very close to me and tell you that of all human frights, the awesome astral dreams which mankind sometimes find themselves in are exceeded by nothing save the astral world itself. And often it is a tuning in with these outworn shells of horror, which men ought to shun as the plague. When you come to Luxor, it is not to bring your outworn garments. It is not to carry a knapsack upon your back filled with old, decaying duds. Leave them behind. We have discarded our own, and we came here ourselves empty-handed, and wove and builded out of eternal substance the sacred fire temple at Luxor. We do not need your contamination. We need your soul. Pure, chaste. We do not need somnambulists. We are awake in God. We would rather hear one word from the Most High than the most beautiful story which man can weave and bind by spell of human sense consciousness. We wait through the centuries to find the cream that rises to the top. And then we pick and choose the best of men. Spartans we are. But we would not plant a Trojan horse among you. Please do not plant one or seek to plant one among us. You may come to our outer focuses, such as this one. You may listen and learn. You may return home and do as you will. But I assure you, with a set to my teeth, that unless you pay greater heed to your divine presence than you have in the past, many of you shall find that your calling and election is wanting the body of substance which the law requires. And who shall you blame at that moment? It shall not be Serapis and his band. It shall not be those of us who stand stalwart for the cosmic purpose. You shall not blame us for this night. Not in the vein which Pilate did do we dip our hands in God's lave, but that you may see that clean hands are offered in valiant service to the light and to the might and to the altar of God within your own soul. Now you may say that you feel that you are small and weak, that that you feel that you are puny, that you have little to give. I say to you tonight, we judge by what you have. And if it be but a pittance, and it be your all, it is as great a gift as though it were the treasury of Croesus. God is not mocked, nor are his judgments unsound, and the great white brotherhood is not confused, precious ones, by mankind's variance and strange conduct, by their turn-about and about-face attitudes, whereby when it suits their purpose they pursue us with what they say is all their heart, and when their purpose is not suited, they turn away and retreat from the domain of the righteous. For righteousness is a hard thing to express, precious ones among men who do not feel at all righteous, who often chide themselves for being unrighteous, and in this small sense of reality to spread abroad the infection and contagion of contamination to one another. They actually expect failure and reap it. We expect success and call it forth. We evoke it. We exalt it. We determine it. We are God's success. And we are God's success for you. We hold the jewel of the ascension in our hands and hearts. We hold the jewel of the ascension upon the scabbard from which we draw the great sword of Christly discrimination to cut you free from fear and pain, to cut you free from all that maims, to cut you free and let you be that which I am for eternity. Look well to yourself. It is the doorway to reality. And you know, precious ones, for a moment I would like to lift the veil, just for a moment, upon the ages past, as I hear the great hewers at work, and I see the drawers of water coming from afar, and the baking sand with the heat waves rising up, and the bare backs of men, and the crack of the whips, and the building of the pyramids. I see the labor then that was evoked from stronger men than now grace the world, and yet they had not the wisdom of the world that ye have, nor the means to do service to life, nor the power of communication, or transportation, or understanding of beauty. Yet, midst pleasures and palaces, though you may roam, be you ever so humble, you are indeed far from home. When you roam from dear Luxor, the home of the true. I pray then tonight that with dear Luxor in view, you will think of the day when, free from all ill, you stand with the Father and with his great will, to know that God planned it, that you should one day feel the full power of ascension's own ray, raising you up from the sod here below, and opening your eyes to eternity's glow, suffusing the sky with the first ray of dawn. Let this light be your guide, both now and from now on. Ye are children of that dawn. Build your pyramid well. Each stone that you cut is a most binding spell. when its substance is impure, it needs transmutation's glow. The great furnace of wisdom that God would bestow is a white heat to the mind and a glow as a star. Its light comes with great majesty from both near and from far. I am the ascension, your God now commands. I am the ascension that life now demands. I am the ascension, the pathway that leads to the gate of perfection when you ride those four steeds, each body obedient, each body in love, with the purpose of heaven that gleams from above. The grail now descends, and the cup to your lips speaks a whisper of heaven. Dear Lord, now forgive. Let me sip of thy nectar and feel thy great love, the elixir of immortality, the offering of love. Gracious ones, Ascension's banner is over the devotee who is able to still the mind and heart and feeling world now and forever. You think when you lose your temper, precious ones, that it is a small thing. And you say, unfortunately, I lost my temper. Dear Lord, forgive. Think ye first, and then the act may be more beautiful. Think ye first ere ye think. Think ye first of what you would think. Blueprint the purposes of life for yourselves. Do not drift with the tide of degeneration. Do not drift with the tide of mortal strife and confusion. Be goldfish, and you shall find your way in due course of time to our temple. We have openings now, for many have flown these halls to higher octaves. Within the past 24 hours, there has occurred 24 ascensions in the light from our halls. 24 ascended masters stand round about this place tonight, adding to the great fire of life. They were men and women who walked among you, and you knew them not. For none of these who ascended are known to any of those of you who are here, but they are as much your brothers and sisters as though every one of you had walked beside them every step of the way. And they are with you tonight in order to encourage you that it can be done, that it shall be done, that it is being done in this contemporary age. How we glow then with hope that some of you, that one of you, that all of you will hold with us, will hold with yourselves, will hold with the bond of reality and the eternal promise. Won't you please be seated? There comes a time, precious ones, when life must take a change for the better. You walk in expectation. You yearn for greater release and freedom. You determine again and again, with almost the tension of a coiled spring, that you will find release. And again you break the covenant with yourselves. And you ask yourselves why. Have you thought, precious ones, of the need for freedom from self-condemnation and the use of that energy for the purposes of fulfillment? Do you know, in the great dossier, which I shall not, of course, release tonight, except perhaps a few words as I did in the little poem which I rendered to you, there are certain teachings made which are just simply magnificent. But unless these magnificent jewels are used by those who have reached a certain point, there is just no point in giving it to them. Therefore, we are waiting. But I do want you to know that there is a little glimpse to be afforded you of some of the teachings, so that you may go on to a greater measure of purity and illustriousness. Do you know what illustriousness is? It is the fulfilling of the illumined or illustrious purpose of God. You know, precious ones, monks did sit in cells and labor as a labor of love over the Holy Scriptures. The Word of God, the Word which God spake, and the words which the precious great ones, the scribes of old, did record in the Holy Scriptures, were themselves plain proof of great truth. Yet these monks were not satisfied with just the plain, simple Roman letter, for example. And they embellished these letters, often making them in what is known as illuminated writing, colored in gold and other bright and gay colors, and adorned with wondrous form and symmetry. This was a labor of love for a word that they felt deserved adornment. It was not with them a gilding of the lily, precious ones. It was simply honoring God, and they gave their life unto that. This is illumined manuscripts, far more beautiful than ordinary ones. Now then, precious ones, I am not about to suggest that you should enter a monkish cell or attempt to embellish our words by drawing and tracing in color the qualities of the sacred fire in form and symmetry. But I am about to tell you that our words can be adorned in a more tangible way by rereading them, by revitalizing them, by re-speaking them, by rephrasing them, and most emphatically, by reliving them as we have done. You see, precious ones, there is an old statement: there is nothing new under the sun. Well, you know, great and blessed ones of great light, for I salute you thus tonight, I want you to know that there are so many people in the world tonight that would come to the temples of the Great White Brotherhood in their own selfish, degenerative, unillumined state. And when they sat before the greatest masters and were taught the simple truths of their salvation and ascension, they would spurn them, for the way of salvation is far too simple, and the teaching is not as gay as men would have it. Therefore, the sameness, the childlike nature of the teaching, the great purity, seems to such men as though they have heard it before. And so they have, again and again. What is needed then is the vital realization of it in action in their world. The living Word incarnate must be engrafted into the hearts of men. They must illumine the manuscripts of themselves. For the Word did go forth, and in a sense ye can truly say of yourselves that ye stand as the living Word. But in this case ye are a plain Word, not yet embellished with that adornment which is sufficient to give you your freedom. For it is you who must read the record of your own self. Do you know, precious ones, the great karmic board usually call upon the individual themselves to read their own record ere judgment is pronounced. And it is from the words that men read concerning their own record that they are judged. This the Christ plainly said. By your own words shalt thou be justified, and by thy own words shalt thou be condemned. And so it is. But the world does not know that. They think that the great ones stand in awesome, somber silence and thundering tones and denounce mankind. Precious ones, how can we denounce those whom God has loved? And God has loved all his creation, and the whole of creation is a story of infinite love. And he would confer the beauty of the ascension upon the whole universe if it were not for the misuse of free will. And thus men read their own record, and then, if there be fault to be found, it can only be fault found with themselves. And inasmuch as we teach them that self-condemnation is not a valuable way of conducting one's own thinking processes, we find that the students cannot, even after they have read it, practice too much self-condemnation. While they admit that they have made errors, they must also recognize that life is a renewed opportunity, and that again and again God has provided a way of escape for mankind from the snares which they have woven for themselves, and he will continue to do so. And furthermore, precious ones, actually, the calamities of life that sometimes befall men are often blessings in disguise. Yet, at the particular time that they occur, they seem quite frightening. Let men take heart, then, to recognize that life in the eyes of God is beautiful. And when men attain to the state where they can appreciate the beauty of this great beholder of perfection, their own beloved God's self, they will find life is indeed beautiful and comfortable. For they will see with his eyes, hear with his ears, know with his mind and heart, and be with his being. And this is quite simple to state in effect, but a little more difficult to establish in action. Why is it difficult to establish in action? Is it not because men have often paid a great deal more heed to the high-sounding phrase and to the voices of men than they have ever paid to the voice of God and to the sweetness of his whispers in their heart? Then I come tonight to say to you that in the great book of the Ascension, there is a record made concerning the whispers of God within the heart. And candidates for the Ascension are often taught to sit in the positive attitude of hearing the intimate voice of God speaking to them personally as to just what they must do to be saved. and to receive their ascension. Many times, precious ones, men and women who are not a part of this movement, or of any religious movement for that matter, hear this voice, and they too sometimes in their great search will ask questions about the voice of God speaking within them. Such a one came to Jesus long ago and said, "Good Master, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Men and women are concerned with these things. It is not ye alone that are concerned. Upon the broad expanse of the planet, as it turns in space, countless hearts call unto God, and many call unto the unknown God. In ignorance, in agnosticism, in doubt. Precious ones, how fortunate then are you to have these opportunities to understand that you can listen to the whispers of the voice of God within the heart and learn not how to expand your ego, but how to expand your God flame. For as the God flame expands, so goes the pathway to the ascension. And as the ego expands, so goes the pathway to the descension. For the ego is that which descended, and the God flame is that which descended to give life to the person, but will ascend back to the heart of God because it is made of the same flame substance as God's being. See then, in the simplicity of my statements, that it is not in high-sounding phrases, but in basic understanding that you not only can gain the infinite wisdom of the universe and the mastery of the universe, but the mastery of yourselves. For if you cannot master yourselves, you shall not be able to master others or to master the universe. Be faithful then in a few things, and God has promised to make thee ruler over many things. There are great evolutions yet unborn that await the teachings of Christ, of dedicated souls. There is need for you to graduate and to arise up into the great power of your ascension. You then ought to recognize that Saint Germain, as the headmaster of this school, has elected to make you aware of the spiritual tools that you have, which you have neglected. If you had used them long ago, as you were directed, you would not be the fools that are now not perfected. Gracious ones, who has fooled who? None have fooled anyone save themselves. And the last laugh is always the laugh of heaven. For heaven laughs best when men are free. Heaven laughs best when men love. Heaven laughs best when men obey. And when men stray, heaven veils its face. There is no rejoicing on high in calumny and deceit and misinterpretation. There is only rejoicing on high when righteousness is in action. Your beloved Saint Germain, your knight commander, did cast down this sword in your midst in one of his recent dictations. He placed a challenge at the feet of every keeper of the flame. Some of you have risen momentously to defend the flame and to stand with the light. You shall not regret it, but I am certain that those who have not responded to his call will. Yet, the mercy of God seeks them out still. And I think, as I come forth tonight to speak to you, that I have somewhat also tempered my speech. For as I looked you over this night and saw the enormous effort that has gone forth this past year, I actually threw away some of the notes I had made, which I intended to use to be just a little bit more cutting. And I said to myself, Serapis, there is a time also when you can learn. Your ascension has somehow made you a bit fierce, for you are all for the will of God in man. But these souls have a great luster. Be good to them. And so your own beloved Saint Germain and Moria have smiled tonight because of this little incident. For they knew that I came with great fire and fury, determined to burn out of you all that dross of human creation that you have accumulated over the centuries. My determination is not any less. I simply desire to transfer it to you and let you do the job. You see, I could not do it single-handed anyway, for it requires some cooperation from you. You must remember that an ascended being is not greater than his Lord. And therefore, if God himself has found it necessary to wink at human ignorance and permit men to carry on in human ways for a time until they can awake, I think we must also, yet for a cosmic purpose. We have often beckoned in fierceness and spoken forthrightly to mankind in order that they might find a means to summon the spirit of life and the spirit of fulfillment, and not just carry on in a continual repetition and rehashing of old, decaying experiences which have never brought them true satisfaction or release from the fears and trepidations of the world. So then, as I draw my address to a close, I want to say to you that the fervor which I brought and the notes which I have cast aside are still there if you care to read them. I think perhaps it is best that you ask for them. And if you do, I am certain that a way will be found to communicate those thoughts to you so that you can be that discriminating intelligence yourself that cuts you free. Sometimes, precious one, there is a need to pamper not the human, but the blessed soul itself that has truly served the light with all its heart and capacity at a given moment. And then again, one must withdraw the pampered attitude and say, now is the time to spank them. This we have done in the past. Tonight, we come with great love. We come with great love, for truly there is magnificence amongst you. I know that this is not a flattery that will get me nowhere, for I am well aware that you are taking my words humbly, that you might elect to live up to them, that you might elect to accept the purification the coming days shall bring. For America shall have many experiences within the next 6 months, which may be indeed some danger to the cause of freedom. Stand by your night commander in those days, and remember that we hope the vision which we see can be averted. But we know that whether it is or whether it is not, the service and the flame you bear will always be its own reward. To serve God in that holy church tabernacle of identity, where the light from on high actually radiates forth in the Ark of the Covenant, is indeed to live in the consciousness of Melchizedek, to be a son of God without beginning and without ending, to have realization and strength in your right arm and heart that Almighty God has put there. This will wipe from your countenance the dust of the ages and give you that mighty fire, that transcendent light, that power, that elixir, that holiness of being that is the ascension. As with a rushing of a mighty wind, you rise into the arms of God and the ascended host, one forevermore with the Son of eternal beingness. In the name of the brotherhood at Luxor and the sacred white fire body to which you shall return, one and all, as the great divine urn stands before you, awaiting the adornment of your coming, as flowers called forth from the heavens, as flower fire stars in the firmament of the divine one. So I say, be inspired this night, be fired this night by our flame. For as I leave you, I shall sweep through this audience ascension's flame for a period of 20 seconds. All that you can absorb of that flame during those 20 seconds will be a great assistance to you if you will hold your attention upon God and recognize that that which I do in the Father's name. I thank you, I bless you, and I charge you with great light. In God's holy name, I am Serapis.